Hey, this is Julia Rebecca Myron, aka The Messy Meditator, and this is the Messy Meditator podcast, where I'll be getting into the topics of mindfulness, messiness, and life. So let's get into it. So I think one thing that might keep some people from even trying meditation is that they might not consider themselves to be a spiritual person, and they might not be into spiritual stuff. And so they might just assume that meditation is not for them. That's one of the many reasons why some people might not want to try meditation and mindfulness. And so part of my whole mission is to make this type of stuff accessible to those types of people, to present it in a way that lets people know that you don't have to have any spiritual practice or spiritual belief, and you can have any spiritual practice or belief. You can be Christian, you can be Buddhist, you can be Muslim, Jewish, atheist, any of the above and beyond, and still practice mindfulness. And so mindfulness can be considered just a psychological exercise, a brain exercise, brain training. But for people who are spiritually inclined and do have particular spiritual and religious beliefs, it can also help deepen their faith and their beliefs and bring them closer to their God that they believe in, to their spirituality. There are tons of different types of meditation, and there are some that are definitely more spiritual. But what I do is mindfulness, and mindfulness isn't about the spiritual practice. It is derived from Buddhist practices, but it's not done for spirituality. And part of why I have wanted to keep the spirituality out of the Messy Meditator and out of what I do and how I present it is because I've been spiritually wounded. I was very involved in a spiritual community that in a lot of ways operated like fundamentalist religions. And to some degrees, some facets of the community felt kind of cult-like. I thought a lot of the beliefs and practices were toxic, hypocritical, sometimes even dangerous. It was very conspiratorial-minded community. Conspiritualists is the term that has now been coined for that type of culture, counterculture. And it got really bad during the pandemic, and I kind of lost my shit. And I didn't necessarily handle it in a very healthy way, but I felt very disappointed, discouraged, disheartened, at times disgusted, disenchanted, lots of disses. And I just got to a point where I didn't want anything to do with any of it anymore. Any kind of spiritual jargon, I had a huge wall up. Even things that I believed in and that resonated with me would still make me cringe, because anything associated with spirituality and the spiritual realm, I just couldn't deal with. I just didn't want anything to do with anymore. I really wanted to divorce myself, not just from that spiritual community, but from all spiritual communities. I didn't really realize this. This is something that I'm actually just sort of processing and realizing and gaining deeper insights about. And I really wanted to divorce myself from just spirituality in general. And that has made these past challenging years even more challenging, because I am a very deeply spiritual person. And I felt like a part of myself was missing not having any type of spiritual practice or spiritual connection in my life. And I really struggled to feel any kind of spiritual connection and any sort of connection to the universe and just any deeper sense of spirituality within myself. And that's been very difficult for me. And I've only recently been starting to reconnect to a deeper sense of spirituality within myself. And it's felt so beautiful. It's been such a coming home to myself. And it started with my garden, planting seeds and watching them grow, and feeling this connection to nature and the elements. And it reignited that passion and that reverence that I have for the natural world and how deeply connected I do feel to the cycles of the moon and the changing of the seasons and the trees and animals and just life in general, however it manifests, whether it manifests through a plant or an animal or another human or music or whatever. And so as I've been reconnecting to my spiritual side, I've realized how I have not been showing up as my full self because that part of me was sort of dismembered. I was just cut off from that part of myself. And it's meant so much to me to reconnect to that part of myself. And so I realized that that's how I need to show up as a teacher and as a coach and a mentor. So I have a confession to make. I am a spiritual person. And in fact, one of my core beliefs is that I do believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And mindfulness helps us to experience being human. It helps us tap into that human experience. And I really do believe that. I believe that if we are spiritual beings having a human experience, we were meant to actually experience being human. And that means the bad days just as much as the good days. That means the discomforts as much as the pleasures. The full spectrum of humanity is what we are here to experience. And I also really believe that mindfulness helps us tune into that experience and helps us experience being human more fully and more completely. And so for atheists, if you just want to think of it as a mental exercise, that will still be totally beneficial. There are so many benefits to practicing mindfulness that have nothing to do with spirituality. But if you do have any sense of spirituality, it also helps us to tap into this human experience that we as spiritual beings are having. And if you believe in a God, it also can help you hear God, connect to God, commune with God, be in awe of God, or just be in awe of humanity and being human. So is mindfulness a spiritual practice or a psychological exercise? The answer is yes. Either and or both. And so I'm just really allowing myself to let this feeling of spiritual connection get comfortable residing within me again. I mean, it's always been in there, but I've really suppressed it. So I'm allowing that part of my humanity to come back to life and to find the balance in it all. Because part of what was so difficult for me in the spiritual community that I was a part of was that it was such a constant avoidance of our humanity, an avoidance of the human experience, trying to connect to spirit instead of connect to the human being that we are here to live in this lifetime, trying to do anything to not have to feel anything unpleasant. And if there was unpleasantness, then it was met with a ton of bypassing, lots of disordered eating, like just cleanse it away, like obsessively clean eating, and then also obsessive cleansing. And like, if you're eating that clean, I don't think you have to cleanse that much. Our bodies are miraculous machines. And if you can't recognize that, that is disconnecting from your human being. And so instead of experiencing spirituality and spiritual practice as something that's always out there meaning outside of us, out somewhere else in the ethers, in the sky, in the unseen energetic fields. My spiritual practice is about experiencing this human body, this human life that I'm living, and everything that comes with it. And there are plenty of times I don't want to be feeling certain things, and I escape and numb and all of that. But that's why it's a practice of noticing and coming back, noticing and coming back, noticing and coming back, falling down, getting back up, beginning again, over and over as many times as you need to. So there you go. From this spiritual being, I wish you a very human experience. Ciao.